All right, one more video in the chapter dealing with abnormal psychology, psychological disorders. I want to talk about schizophrenia. It's one of the more misunderstood and more severe psychological disorders out there. When you think about people who have some of the biggest psychological challenges, oftentimes it's people with schizophrenia. These are folks who experience hallucinations. They see, hear things that aren't really there. They experience delusions. These are false beliefs. They may believe that they are Jesus or that people are spying on them. Oftentimes they have very odd speech and mannerisms. They may make up words. Their words don't totally make sense. They often have unusual behaviors, like twirling their hair or just being kind of frozen in place like that. They call that catatonia. And their emotions are oftentimes unusual. They may be laughing at very sad moments. They may be giggling for unexpected reasons. They may be very angry at things that are trivial, and so on. Your book talks about the fact that when you have schizophrenia, you could have positive or negative symptoms. Positive symptoms just means you have an excess of symptoms. Like you have additional hallucinations or delusions. Negative symptoms are where you have a lack of things. You may have a lack of empathy for others who are around you. You may have a lack of, sorry about that, just having some technical difficulties there. You may have a lack of speech. You may have a lack of interactions with others, and so on. For some people with schizophrenia, it's pretty severe. It may require a lifetime's worth of medication or hospitalization. For some people, it comes and goes. And for others, it's mild enough to the point where if they get the proper treatment, they can still function pretty well in mainstream society. For most people with schizophrenia, they see their first symptoms come on in their late teen years, their early 20s. And again, medication, antipsychotic drugs can help some people with schizophrenia. If you ever get a chance to see the movie A Beautiful Mind, it's a great Oscar-winning film from the year 2000 with Russell Crowe. It shows a pretty good depiction of someone with schizophrenia. His case is not typical. I don't want to give too much away about the movie, but it's well done. It's worth seeing. So that's schizophrenia. A couple other disorders that I wanted to touch on. Your book mentions hypochondriasis. If you are a hypochondriac, you're someone who constantly believes that you have medical problems, even though that may not be the case. They talk a bit about antisocial personality disorder. Now, usually when we say someone is antisocial, we mean that they are shy, but that's really an inaccurate term. Anti means against. People who are shy are asocial, not social. Antisocial, these are people who are against others. They're charming, persuasive, manipulative. They hurt others and they feel no remorse. It's not the typical bully. These are people who will sweet talk you into you giving them all of your money, and then afterwards they're going to laugh at you like you were a fool for having done that. Therapy is not really going to help for these folks. Medication won't either. They're oftentimes they have a history of being dangerous towards animals and people, even at a young age. It's tough to spot these people on the surface, but they can do you a lot of harm. They also, one other I want to talk about is multiple personality disorder. These days it's called dissociative identity disorder, DID. And if nothing else, I want you to know that this is not the same thing as schizophrenia. Schizophrenia is having one personality that's really unusual, like we talked about at the beginning of this video. But when you have multiple personalities, each one may be very different. Some may be male, some may be female. They could be young, they could be old, they could be of different races, different talents, abilities, different heart rates, and brainwave activity patterns. But their personalities change, perhaps when they're with family, when they're under stress, when they are angry, and things like this. They usually are unaware that they have these other personalities. They kind of treat them like you might treat a friend. You might say, well, Brian is this way, or Janet is really funny, not realizing that those are both you. almost all known cases of this. And by the way, dissociative identity disorder is very rare, even though it comes up a lot in movies and TV shows. Almost all known cases, though, have an individual who was abused pretty severely as a child, physically, sexually, emotionally, and it's believed that they kind of create these other personalities as kind of a way for them to function, so that one personality is aware of the abuse while the others are unaware. Hope that helped.